Hello, everyone. Um, for those of you who might remember, I was speaking at 2017 Property Portal Watch in Lisbon. At the time, the name of the conference was Getting Close to Transactions, and we were pretty much close at the heart of it because I was on stage after completing 600 transactions in our market. Now I'm back here to tell you a little bit more about what we've learned and how we're doing after 6,000 transactions. So, for those of you who didn't know about tapu.com, let me give you a brief update, and then we carry on with the details. We are a transactional real estate marketplace with a mission to make property transactions easier and more transparent. Yeah, easier said than done, but we've done it. We are operating in Turkey, and Turkey is never a boring place. We have 3 million annual property transactions. That is like almost most of Europe added on top of each other. We have a huge commission pool. We have a huge population. By the way, that doesn't include the 10 million refugees we have off the record. So, in terms of our numbers, we've already done 6,000 plus transactions, of which 2,000 was last year. Last year's volume was $55 million, and we are aiming to grab 1% market share in terms of the 3 million annual transaction size. So we've done already 2,000. We could have easily done 3,000 to 4,000 this year if the macro wasn't that much slowing us down. So we need to grow approximately about tenfold to get to that market share. We can say we have a product market fit on the buyer side because we have completed nationwide transactions. We weren't aiming for it, but we never had the chance to focus geographically because we started working off with banks, and the banks would give us properties from all over the country. So accidentally, we became a nationwide player, basically. So we've completed in 80 cities out of the 81 we have geographically in Turkey. So we're pretty much well known in terms of the buyer side. So last year we did $2.2 million in approximately 2,000 transactions. The story of today is actually we have grown on B2C, like mainly bank-owned properties. Well, it was easier to do to solve the chicken and egg problem of the marketplace because the sellers would give us like properties by the hundreds. So we were just focusing on finding the buyers. So basically, since the market slowed down because of the macro volatilities, we are actually, since the beginning of this year, adding the C2C layer on top of the B2C business we already have. What are we trying to solve? These problems are more or less the same in emerging markets, let's say less developed markets. The sellers don't know how to sell. They don't even know the size of the rooms. They don't know the pricing. They cannot take even property photos. Actually, they don't know how to price, especially in a high inflation environment. You really don't know what your property is worth. And they are disturbed by disruptive calls when there's an FSBO listing, and it takes ages to sell. Why? Because if you're trying to sell a property yourself, you're probably working somewhere else. You cannot answer the calls the whole day. You cannot show your own place. So it takes ages to find a buyer and then to get that buyer to sign off on a transaction. The buyer problems, you already know. These are common themes. There's a lack of service from agents because the brokerage regulation is really low in terms of entry barrier in Turkey. Anybody and everybody can become one. So it's basically everybody's trying to screw each other type of a environment. So there is a lack of service and a huge distrust for the agents. There is an information asymmetry since we don't have exclusive mandates in the market. That's not traditional. So everybody is trying to hide the information so that the inventory is not stolen by the other agent. So that, of course, hinders any buyer decision on the other side. The prices are always inflated. well, since we have inflation, so we should inflate the prices even more, but that kind of backtracks the buyer. So in the end, there's no trust on the buyer side, and it takes ages to buy. So our solution, I'm going to start with the buyer solution because we've been doing it for 7 years right now. We could be one of the oldest transactional models in the room. We started off 2015. So this buyer solution is the secret of our product market fit. We did it 6,000 times. So we own the mandate. It's exclusive. We hide the seller. We negotiate the sales price. We own the audience. That is, we have our own adbot technology. We create our own buyer leads ourselves through our CPC campaign technology. We don't depend on the classifieds for finding buyers. Actually, we're the second largest storefront in the biggest classifieds in our country, but they make up 6% of our transactions. So we are finding our own buyers. Own the conversation because we're supporting physical environments, digital environments everywhere with our field team, showing the places, with our agent network. So basically, we're answering all the questions as if the properties are ours because the seller is hidden anyways. We own the auction, meaning we have the platform to collect all the official bids. Official meaning the system is free to enter, but you have to prepay my service fee to bid. So everybody prepays, but it's free to lose. So the system automatically has some kind of a checks and balances where everybody respects the other bids. And we own the transaction because we do the paper pushing until the registry office. How are we scaling supply? This year, actually, we started middle of last year, but this year we've done official reporting on our data. So how are we scaling our supply? This is the lessons learned part, actually. I'm going to share with you all openly. You might want to go ahead and do it yourselves, or we could collaborate. We are cold calling thousands of FSBO listings on the market because they're crying out for help. They don't want to work with agents because of the distrust issue, but they're crying for help. And we're just calling them, let us save you the hassle. And it's free for you, so they're just giving us the mandate. We are geo-targeting online performance marketing. This is the same technology we're using to find buyers. We're actually mirroring that technology to find sellers as well. That is working pretty well, but that of course costs money. Cold calling doesn't cost that much money other than the telesales agent. So we're actually prioritizing cold calling right now. Of course, the agents we're working with bring their own inventory as well. So we're qualifying the seller lead, and this is part of the job. We're doing thousands every month. I mean, the day before, there was a lot of presentations about the qualifications and the seller leads. It's part of our muscle. We do the outbound call, we evaluate the seller motivation, and we quantify the motivation score. This motivation score, the higher it gets, the more serious the seller is. So we dispatch the agent to the serious seller. Of course, there's agents needed, and we're going to come to that subject. So the agents go and do the site visit, and then the site visit questionnaire comes online to my in-house appraisal team. My in-house appraisal team decides if we're gonna, if we want to sell this property and for how much, and then tactical pricing goes back to the agent so that we get the sale mandate with those numbers. How are we scaling buyers? The online lead generation, I already told you about that. The 85% of our transactions comes from our technology, and the nice part is that we don't share with any buyer agent when we find our buyers ourselves. But of course, not everyone is digital. We have a buyer agent network. This is totally distributed around the country. Basically, this is the network we built on bank-owned properties. So we can really find buyers from far-off places because we have the buyer agent referring us. So if we bring the pieces together, we have a totally scalable transactional business. How are we bringing the pieces together? I already told you about the buyer journey. There is full transparency on property information, and there is full transparency on pricing. How we're doing that? Of course, the auctions are open auctions in front of everyone. It's free to enter to see how many people are bidding, the bid history, and so on. So it's full transparent. But on the other hand, there is full property information transparency because we only allow those properties with an appraisal report. And that appraisal report checks the registry office, checks the municipal papers, and everything is there. So basically, there is full transparency on the information and the pricing on the buyer side. And on the seller side, we save the hassle. That's it. And it's free for the seller up to $5 million, which is around $250,000. We only charge the buyer because we make the buyer feel that we are servicing them only. We are not servicing the seller in that sense. We are servicing the buyer. And we're only charging the buyer 4% plus VAT. We have our own operating system for this. Of course, we're a technology company, and we've actually came up with this revamp of our CRM system, which is now basically doing the dispatch work for all the agents. You could call us an e-commerce company. Of course, as every e-commerce company needs the couriers to move the boxes, I mean, get the box from the seller and bring the box to the buyer, kind of a thing. We're actually using our operating system to run the dispatch of the agent network, to get the mandate from the seller, to do the site viewing or the appointment for the potential buyer, that kind of a story. So basically, this is the screen where the agent is running their own business. Calendar, CRM, all added on top, but basically, we're telling them what to do. And actually, since the agent is not dealing with all the routine work, because we're doing it with the technology, in any given month, they have the chance and the time to do more transactions compared to their neighborhood examples. So, in terms of scaling supply and demand, we've grown this business quite easily, but then we realized, oops, we're going in the wrong direction. So we said, okay, let's put on the brakes a bit, because we realized that the land plots, which are sold really easily through our platform, basic e-commerce principles, people were buying land plots out of boredom during the lockdowns, during the COVID. So that was already happening. So we realized that we were growing in the wrong direction because the unit cost was poorer on the land plot side. So basically, we just put on the brakes, reconfigured the supply, and as you can see, the number of transactions dropped, but the revenue didn't. So we're basically focusing all our effort on residential right now. So there is two things happening in terms of improving unit economics. We are changing the focus of the category, but we are changing also the focus on how we're paying out the agents. In terms of agent payout, there's a lot of things we're doing, and I'll show you in detail in the next chart how we're doing it. But we could be the most profitable agent network business compared to what Compasses and the EXPs are doing in a really short while, because we've seen it and we're doing it. How are we doing it? Of course, this is the agent payouts innovation, and of course, there is the innovation in buyer conversion. The innovation in the hybrid system, as I call it, the exclusive seller agents, all of you know them. They are really advantages. They have the experience, they have the category experience, like commercial, or they have the neighborhood experience because they've been working there for 10 plus years or whatever. But these people are basically expensive and lazy, and they're not reliable, because you just give them $2,000 for revenue share, and then they disappear on vacation. Next 2 weeks, they're out. So basically, what we've come up with actually is to have a more reliable human resource. We've come up with an in-house sales team. These are not picky. These are running after every other ticket, and basically, these are costing less. So we're paying minimum wage plus 15% revenue share to these in-house sales teams. So of course, the blended average of the payout is like around 30% in our business plan. So that makes a interesting and meaningful business in terms of the C2C transactional business we're building. This is our projection. We're currently actually fundraising, and after we do the fundraising, the numbers are going to be skyrocketing because our ticket sizes are huge, and since we're selling services, all that money is ours to invest back into the business. What are we going to do with the money? We intend to raise 1 million right now. Of course, we're going to grow the in-house sales team because mainly the first 2 months is on us, and then in their third month, they recover their own cost and bring profit. We're going to launch the marketing team because we need to do some kind of mass media marketing for the sellers. We've been doing that for the buyers, but nobody knows that they can sell through us, basically. Of course, we need to grow the developer team for our operating system, and we're going to invest more on performance marketing to reach positive unit contribution in about 3 quarters. Thank you.
Emre, thanks very much for doing that. Very interesting what the progress you've made. I was trying to think back to 2017, which is actually quite hard.
Yeah.
And the business has certainly transformed itself in that time. Some couple of questions. If you're charging the buyer, why do you need even to have an agreement with the seller to offer their properties to the buyers?
So that we don't have a leak. That's the short form answer. The long form answer is basically legally you need to have a sales mandate to publish something online in Turkey as per the regulation. But not really everyone is taking that into consideration.
Okay, and do you get any pushback for charging the buyer?
Not in the small tickets, let's say, up to $250K, I could say. Why? Because if there is no crazy auctions, like sometimes we have carnage auctions, doubling the prices in 2 hours, so we cannot do anything like that. But let's say a property is on sale for 2 months and the buyer is bidding something under the opening price of the auction. But the auction never opened because nobody bid on that price. So basically, we are on the side of the buyer, and maybe let's say we're getting them a 10% discount because we're working for them. So our service fee just disappears in the middle.
Okay.
And nobody's complaining.
Okay, so another question. Inflation rate in Turkey is how much?
80 plus.
80+%. So how does this all work in a market where literally the price of houses are moving minute by minute? Does that impact your business?
Positively, yes, because we're the only one doing auctions. So basically, you can see the inflation minute by minute in our auction system. So that's the advantage of having an auction system, basically.
Okay, do you think it's going to have any decrease on the demand side?
Yes, because of the inflation, people are flocking to hard assets like real estate. So the price appreciation on the residential house prices in the residential price index is 160. So it's double the official inflation numbers. So everybody's rushing to real estate for some time right now, but people are doubting or starting to doubt that we might be seeing the peak or the climax of that cycle. So there could be a slight slowing down on the demand side because people don't want to buy the peak.
Okay, understand. Emre, thank you very much for sharing the journey of Tapu.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much.